Um, I guess I'm going to just start off. And Allegra, if there's something you have to press to record, this is a good time to do that. Okay, I see, live. Coming to you live from the seventh floor of the Education Building at the Museum of Modern Art. I'm Deborah House, and the Director of Digital Learning, and today with me is Doug Brannon, someone I've known for a number of years, and one of our illustrious alumni for the MoMA Courses Online program. Doug is here today to talk to us about his experience being a MoMA Courses Online student and alumni supporter, and also to talk about his recent career path as an artist. Doug, can you just start us off telling us a little bit about your background and how you came to take a MoMA Courses Online course?
Sure. I live on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We're kind of remote here, though we do have a reputation of being an artist community, so there's always something going on in the art fields. We have a number of galleries, a very active arts council. But growing up, I've always been interested in the arts and all the different variations of painting, sculpture, whatever. I had the opportunity of growing up as a military kid, so living around the world and seeing a whole variety of different arts. But I never felt that I had the artistic skill to do anything. And in fact, it was often said that I couldn't draw two straight lines with a ruler. But I began to notice over the last several years that my interest was really drawn towards abstract art, and I realized that there are no two straight lines, and you don't need a ruler. And so, having a lot of artist friends, and looking at art and going to various things, somebody finally said, "Stop talking about it, stop thinking about it, and just do it." And the more I started getting interested, I realized specific artists that I was attracted to. Not knowing which field or whatever, but it was people like Mark Rothko, Barnett Newman, Jackson Pollock, the people that I later learned was the abstract expressionists. And about that time, I got an email that one morning, opened up my email, and saw that MoMA was offering online courses. And doing a lot of my work in computers, then I felt very comfortable with doing something online. So I checked into it and was very quick to respond, only to find out that the course was closed out. And but then within a day, less than half a day, then MoMA posted that they had such a huge response that they opened a second session. So I immediately signed up. And but there was apparently a spot in the first one, which was very fortunate, as it turns out. So I got in the first session. And really, I joined because of Mark Rothko. And I was just so interested in his work. But then realized there was so much more than Rothko. As most of the people in our group online, we began to explore and learn the techniques, and it just grew from there. And it just flourished. And I realized that my interest was really intense then. And so it kind of started from there. Okay,
Just hold, speaking to your mic. Oh. Okay, that is fantastic. That was perfect. I think in terms of technical stuff, I would say speak a little bit slower.
Okay.
Just in case there is some latency. There was some, but it wasn't too bad. But I think if you just speak a little bit more slowly, it'll catch up a little bit better. Now, what feels more comfortable to you? Do you want to do that again now, or do you want to go through all of them and then do it again as a set?
Let's go through the whole thing, and then we'll catch up.
All right, I agree. I think that's better. All right, so the second part, that was a great intro. I think it really sets the stage. I think one of the things that you might want to bring in the second part is talking about the experience of taking the online course. And then we were going to talk about that and your trajectory as a painter. So, what was it about the experiences you had in the course, things like watching Ori paint and, communicating with your colleagues that then sort of served you well later on? I don't mean to hand you what you should,
Oh,
but I just as
yeah.
examples. If you
No, I
want to say
see.
something else, it's fine.
No, I see exactly what you're saying because that's what a lot of when I talk to somebody about
Okay.
online courses.
Oh, okay. All
Uh,
right.
when I speak to someone about online courses on most anything,
We're gonna back up and pretend like I just asked you a question,
okay,
and then give a little space here so there's editing room. Okay. So
okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, in the very beginning, I think there's some objections to online that you don't learn as well in person. And but I work independent myself in my regular job. I don't work with other people. Uh, the kind of work that I do, we're independent. Where everything we do is on our own initiative. So I felt very comfortable in that kind of environment. And what I discovered was that the interaction of having a instructor-led course and presenting our work online and getting feedback from Corey was just unbelievable. You know, he took the time to really see what you were doing, how you were doing, if you were applying the techniques, if you understood it, gave very good criticism, very good constructive feedback, which for most people was very complimentary, which said that we were grasping what he was teaching. And the way it was set up in terms of showing the history, let's say the history of Rothko and his work, studying his work of the pieces in MoMA, the way it was photographed and videotaped, you felt like you were standing right there. But better, because you could go around to the side and he would explain what was in the back, black back of the surface, on the side of the surface, showing very detailed things that you would probably not notice yourself. And then showing the studio technique, having the studio component was the most important. And with the feedback from Corey and the other students, then you felt like you were grasping it. You know, that yes, you have the technique, you understand what's happening. But you didn't feel the pressure that you had to be perfect. And that you still could put yourself into it, your own interpretation as an artist, without necessarily like copying exactly. But the important thing was Corey taught very carefully, very concisely the techniques. And then from there, you apply it. And it was just a great experience. And what happened over the period of the 10 weeks was you start off with nothing. And then as I look around the room, then I see these paintings that are side by side, centered around the room. And I felt like I could see my progression, my improvement, and I truly felt like I was an artist. You know, I was doing what an artist is supposed to do. So that's kind of where where I moved to, through the course. But of course, and then the big thing is our group. I described this as a bunch of chatty Cathy's. That every morning I would wake up, I would have a minimum of 75 emails or 75 messages. And so of the 22 people or so we had in our group, we were very supportive of one another, very active with one another. And if there was something we maybe were missing, somebody else helped pick up and could explain it, a little bit. So being the fact that it's online versus in person in a university campus was not a hindrance at all. And so it was a very great experience.
We're going to break. So that was great. That was perfect. Allegra, can you hear me? Can you unmute for a second?
Yes.
I'm just wondering, I love seeing Doug's work. I'm just wondering if he's talking about the course. It makes more sense probably for us to do this in post, but we might want to have pictures of Corey and like clips from the video and stuff like that. That seemed to make more sense to me than seeing his images right now.
Yeah, I agree. I
Maybe
think
a
we
mix.
should have that in post.
And I'm worried about mixing them because I think we're going to have to put some titling over Doug's pictures to say these are paintings by Doug and Doug Brannon. And And I think if we mix them when we're talking about the course, it might seem like those were de Koonigs or those. I think it could be a little confusing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
I think too that that's a great idea to mix in Corey a little bit, because really all of us felt like Corey was the main part of getting the information across.
Okay.
And this is not for this program, but just to kind of compare. I've taken a few of the Coursera courses without the instructor, and I grasped the information. But Corey really not only taught, but even it was just a video. We realized that in fact too, he connected, I think, with every student in a special way.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. That's great. I think that's our plan. When we run through the second time, Allegra, maybe we'll just let it run with the camera on.
On Doug. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. All right. So that was great. Now, do we want to talk about how that experience affected your development over the last 3 years? Or do you think you said enough about that? Because that's the moment.
I think there's something that can be added onto that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, because really, when I first started out, I was the art that I did. I was a woodworker, and I had never picked up a brush. I had never touched any canvas or paint or anything. And as a result of the course, it gave me the confidence that I realized, for one, I really enjoy the paint better than woodworking, so I haven't done any of that for a while. But it gave me the confidence of knowing what I was doing, and it was recognized because since then I've had 3 solo or collaborative shows. I've been in about 7 or 8 group shows. 2 of the galleries here have picked me up to represent me, and that was at their request. I wasn't going begging and saying, "Will you help me?" That after participating in the shows, and they asked if I could put their work in their gallery, and they're not easy galleries to get into, and so it's really just kind of picked up through the years that if I want to make, like, somebody really wants to make an impression in academics, they're going to say they're a graduate of Yale or Harvard or Princeton or somewhere. And when somebody says, "Well, where did you learn? What university did you go to get your art degree?" My degrees are in psychology, and in general and clinical and counseling psychology. And the last 15 years I've worked in the legal field, with what I'm doing right now. But now I'm moving more towards art, to the point, especially like in the spring, as I mentioned in the email to you, that a private academy gallery in Williamsburg, they included me as their first artist to add to their permanent collection. And now they're wanting to add more and inviting me to be a guest lecturer to their advanced placement art students. And all of this is attributable, and I say it almost every single day to people, it's all attributable to what I have gained through MoMA. And I feel like if I didn't have that, I'd be one of the people here just spinning their wheels, just slapping paint on the canvas, forgetting about it years ago, 2, 3 years ago. But they show you the real emphasis is that I'm seriously considering retiring by the end of this year. And the big thing is to pick up where I am in art and move forward and advance my opportunities. And it's all through MoMA. That's I keep telling everybody that.
And I don't really.
My voice isn't.
Oh, okay.
So let's just do it this way so you can hear it too.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
No, me neither. I didn't think about that.
We just make it up as we go along, Doug.
Sure.
That was very lovely. Thank you. That was like a little Valentine to all of us. I appreciate that very much. And it came out really nicely over the video. Okay, so I think the last thing we want to just really emphasize is that community that you are such a major part of, and what does that mean for all of you to be part of this ongoing artist community that's virtual? Anything you can bring to that, any authentic, you could bring in a little anecdote, you could just talk about it in general, a mix of the two. And I can start you off by just saying, you know, Doug, something I really admire about what you've done for MoMA Courses Online is that you've really contributed a significant amount of energy to fostering this online community for over 4 years now, since the course began. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, what happened in the very beginning was, as I said, there were 2 sessions, and apparently one of the sessions, the second session, was not as interactive as we were. We were an extremely interactive group. So over a 10-week period, by the 8th week, before he started kind of winding down a little bit, they gave us some idea that the end of this course was ending. And we started making comments about, can we share email addresses? You know, how can we stay in contact with one another? I related it to kids going to summer camp, and at the end of camp, everybody goes home and you know, they don't have their friends that they have. Well, we became really, a lot of us, very, very close friends. So we came up with this idea of how we can stay together on an international scale. That was our dilemma. That was our challenge. That we had people in something like 16 different countries. And so what platform is there that anyone can join that had a reliable platform? And it turned out to be Facebook. A number of people, they don't like the openness of Facebook. So we discovered then about having a private group, a closed group, and that was acceptable to everybody. And so we joined. We presently have now 53 members, including yourself and Allegra and some of the Wendy. Our first person that we were dealing with was Beth Harris, and she's been an active member of our group, you know, from the very beginning. Keeps in contact with what we're doing. We've certainly appreciated everything she did. And so as a result, we stay together to the point that I probably interact with at least 6 to 8, maybe sometimes 9 of our members from around the world every single day. We continue our studies. We have the main abstract expressionists who study through the course, but then we picked up and said there are others out there, such as Cy Twombly. Particularly, we have a lot of female members, and they wanted to study, and you hear it all the time. When are you going to have the course with female abstract expressions? And so we kind of study them on our own. You know, and we share ideas, and we share what we find in research. We do challenges. We're a virtual group, but at the same time, a number of them have gotten together. They've gathered like 3 or 4 or 5 at a time in Rome, in Paris, in London. We now have 5 or 6 members in San Francisco. We have them in other major cities across the United States, Brazil, India, South Africa, almost all the European countries. One of the people, afterwards, she started her own gallery on the island of Ibiza. Some have really picked up, and they're doing their own solo shows, starting their own art careers. But we stay together and challenge each other and support one another. And I think that's very important. We truly feel like the abstract expressionists in the 50s that got together at the Cedar Tavern. You know, they still supported each other. They might have been critical of each other and such, but they were still a group. And that's how we feel. Very, very strong group. Now, if you'd have gone down the road, we're beginning to talk about things like having a big meeting in New York and possibly one in San Francisco over the next few years. So it's growing, it's flourishing, and we're extremely supportive of one another. We exchange artwork. We buy artwork from each other. We share information on art shows so we can send our work. 6 of them a couple of years ago promoted the International Miniature Show here on the Outer Banks. It was the 22nd year for that. Here we have the 23rd year of the internationalship. Several members sent work in and made sales, and so that it's just a phenomenal group of people to stay together with. And I think as an academic, I worked in academics for a number of years through graduate school and undergraduate school, and I taught at the college level. And it's very important for students to get together. That's why you have student unions on campus. In the virtual world, you don't have that. I think a lot of people get lost. They can't function purely by themselves. So this way, it's kind of like an international online student union. And I think that's a very important part that online educators are missing if they don't realize part of that and start addressing it.
Okay, that was great. Good job. Okay, we're going to do this again, and I'm going to give you some frames. And the frame is we're in an elevator, and the VW guy walks in the elevator, and we have 12 floors to go to. This is the elevator speech. So we're going to try to condense what you're saying just a little bit so that he gets all of the information. I'm sorry? Yeah, like maybe 2 minutes less for each question. I'm getting prompts from the doctor.
Okay. And I won't say anything, but you can when you talk to them. I've got 2 new Beetles. I've got a convertible and a regular. When I was telling Deborah Reed the other night, she's got one of the SUV VWs. So we're not only enjoying artists, but we're very strong supporters, consumers of Volkswagen.
I don't want this to be too much of a commercial. Like, I want to keep it a little bit
You convey that to him personally. It won't be on the video, but
no, I appreciate that. I really do. So we're going to go through the 3/4 questions again.
Okay.
And you're just going to pretend like like you've got some time limitation. So like maybe 2 minutes less per response.
Okay.
Something like that. I think I haven't been watching the time, but it feels to me like it's maybe gone like 7 minutes each question, and maybe we want to do it less than that, like maybe 4 or 5, something like that. It doesn't matter if you repeat yourself, so don't feel like you don't want, you want to say something completely different. Not at all a problem. Go ahead and repeat exactly what you said if you can do it, or something like what you said. We're just looking for good, clean sentences with beginnings and endings.
Okay.
All right? Okay, so I'm going to prompt you again.
Okay.
Deborah House from the Museum of Modern Art. I'm the Director of Digital Learning, and it's my pleasure to speak to Doug Brannon today, who's one of our star students from MoMA online courses. Doug,
sorry, can we do that one more time? So sorry. Can we just start with the camera on you, Doug? Sorry.
Are you all right?
Yeah, can we just start with the camera on you, and then we'll go to Doug?
Okay. Do I control that?
No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it, but we were on Doug a minute ago.
Hold on.
So it was very funny.
Sorry.
How do I push it?
No, you're good. You're good. You just got to start now.
Okay.
Okay.
Because for me, I'm just seeing Doug, but I guess that doesn't.
Yeah, but she is the master.
Okay. So we're going to start again.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm muting. Bye.
Okay. This is Deborah House from the 7th floor of the Education Building here at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. I'm here today with Doug Brannon, who has very graciously agreed to talk with me a little bit about what it's like to be a MoMA Courses Online student, and to talk a little bit about what his experience has been being a student, and now even 4 years later from the first course that he took, how that experience still impacts him as an artist. Thank you, Doug, for being here today. And could you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you came across the MoMA online courses?
Sure. I live on the Outer Banks. I've lived here for about 25, 26 years now. I work, I'm a magistrate here on the Outer Banks, which has nothing to do with art. It's totally separate and apart. But for the number of years I've been interested in art, but in all different ways, in whether it be painting, sculpture, woodcraft, just a whole variety of things. But I never felt like I had any of the skill. I was always somewhat envious of people who could, produce and be that creative. And somebody finally suggested, because we have a strong art community here, that I shouldn't, keep looking and talking, but just pick up a brush, get some paint and the canvas, and start painting. Of course, when I did that, it turned out to be absolutely nonsensical. And but I had realized that there was a particular kind of art that I really enjoyed viewing. I felt a connection to it, and that was abstract work. And then later, I realized it was called abstract expressionist during the 50s. One morning I woke up, there was an email on my laptop that showed that there was an abstract expressionist course offered through MoMA, through an online course, and feeling very comfortable with computers and worked with them in a lot of different fashions. Then I signed up and found the course extremely satisfying. It was a studio component course. I was instructor-led by Corey, and which made an excellent connection to all the students. And honestly felt, even though it was online, that we felt, myself felt, that we were right there in New York, in the studio, learning. And so then from there, learned about the period, the artists, their specific techniques, and through the studio component, then applied it and realized that I can do this, that it was just a matter of having the right people in the right environment to teach. And it started from there.
Your point was, about me talking when the elevator was down.
No, just generally, like.
Oh yeah,
help
yeah.
us out.
No, that's fine. That was great. That was what you did exactly what you were supposed to do. 2 minutes left. Okay, now we're gonna go to the next question, which is about since what was the experience of taking the course? You did a lovely job of explaining sort of some of the interactions that happened in the course that you found really helpful. So I'll just cue you off and say, so Doug, what was it like taking that first online course? What did you like about it? What surprised you about it? Can you give us a little description?
Sure. When I had mentioned there was a slight lag in time from signing up until the course started, and so I had mentioned to some people and other artists, and of course they were immediately, you can't learn online. You have to have somebody teach you. Of course, these are people who had art degrees from very well-known universities and art departments. And I believe that online education does have a major component in education. And so what I found was that the way it was set up, the way MoMA structured the course, and having an instructor-led component with Corey, it was just like being in the class. So I never felt that I was several hundred miles away. Of course, one of the big things is having a full-time job and with a erratic work schedule, being able to go online at any time, day or night, at my convenience. That was a huge component to be able to keep me motivated, that I wasn't going to miss out on anything. But the way the course was structured, the way the information was presented through the videos, you felt a connection. For example, when we studied de Kooning, for example, and they had the exact music that he was listening to that we could record, so I would play the music while I was attempting to do the techniques. And that really, again, made a strong connection. But having a pre-made video was great, but having an instructor-led with some live interaction or with a day interaction with Corey, giving feedback where you could paint, present it online, and get the feedback was very encouraging. And what I still tell people is online education done the right way is very, very possible, very beneficial. I think a lot of people are missing that component of it. But I felt, again, it was just like being on a campus. So yeah, I felt I learned a lot, a great deal.
And so, what can we? What are some of the ways that the course influenced your own artwork? And let's talk a little bit now. It's 4 years later, 4 years later, and looking back, can you make some connection between what you did on the course and how you've developed as an artist?
Okay. All right. One of the major things that, to understand is that I'm an educator. I believe very strongly in education, in the learning process, and I've done a lot of teaching, both at the high school and the junior college and the university level. And I see that as an extremely important aspect to anyone's development, whatever they choose to do. I see too many artists, they want to become what they describe as self-taught. But if they don't know what they're teaching themselves, you have a problem. And so by starting to be an artist and having the opportunity to actually learning about it's not just paint on the canvas, but there is technique. There is composition. It may not look like it, but there's composition, there's structure, there's the materials. All different kind of materials can make a huge difference. So at the end of the 10 weeks, then I felt very strongly that I had a very strong education in art with techniques, and I could apply those techniques in my own artwork. And as I developed over the years, use a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or understand exactly what I'm doing. And so consequently, my work developed what other people have described as being very professional and not just pushing paint around on a canvas without any rhyme or reason. And from there, then other people, professional artists and gallerists, to my surprise, recognized it, invited me to have solo shows in their galleries, and then later collaborative shows. And right now, by invitation, I have 2 galleries that represent my work. Another gallery in Williamsburg, Virginia, associated with a private academy, acquired several pieces of my work for their permanent collection. So sometimes I'm thinking, I don't know, but must be something getting across that other people, especially gallerists in galleries, are appreciating. So yeah, I'm developing very strongly to the point that I'm getting ready to close out my one career and retire in the very near future, but not to sit back, but in order to further expand and apply my artistic skills of what I've learned through MoMA.
Fantastic. Great job. And so our final point of discussion is really around this amazing work that you've done to foster a continuing community. I'm going to start over again. So Doug, one of the things I admire about you is that you spent so much time and energy helping others be as active and as interested in their art careers as you are. And you do that, the way I see that you do this is through the community on Facebook of our alumni that took the course, that very first course, which is still active. And if you could just describe a little bit about what keeps that community going and what it means to all of you to be part of it, that would be great.
Okay, towards the end of the 10-week course, there were many of us that got to be very close friends and supporters of each other and what we were accomplishing in our art, and we didn't want to lose that. And so we thought of ways of how we could stay together, which was a challenge because at the time we were people spread around the world in about 16 different countries. So what kind of a platform is there that we could stay connected and that everybody felt comfortable with? And we decided to do a closed group available only to alumni of the online courses at MoMA. We currently have 53 members. It grows each time you offer a course, more members are invited and they join and participate. But we stay together. Every day I'm interacting with up to maybe 8, 9, 10 people from around the world. And we continue to explore, we continue to learn, support one another, we challenge each other, we add artists. In addition to the 8 or 9 that we studied in the first course, we will add an abstract expressionists and to learn about those artists, which way again enhances our skills. We've ended up purchasing art from each other, exchanging art from each other, and I just feel on a campus environment, you have the student union, that personal interaction is a major, major component of education. And so this is like an online student union where we continue to be a part of each other no matter where we are in the world. And we call ourselves the Post-Millennium New York School, being that the group in the 1950s was called the New York School. We're after 2000, so we're the Post-Millennium. The group gathered in Chelsea at the Cedar Tavern, so we're known as the Post-Millennium New York School, the Cedar Bar 2. And every day we have that strong connection, not only to the history of that era, but also with MoMA. And we appreciate your participation, Allegra's, Beth Harris, previously, Wendy, of being supportive of our group, and we maintain that connection.
Great. Doug, thank you so much for speaking with me today. This has been a really lovely experience. And
Thank you. Same here. It's been great for me also.
And continued success in all these endeavors.
Thank you. Now I have to go downstairs and thank Glenn and Bruce for not putting on their big clown nose and dancing behind the scene. It was a possibility.
We would have enjoyed that too. All right, I'm looking over to my directors now. Allegra, unmute. Is there anything we need to redo, you think?
I would ask Allegra.
Allegra?
Hi. No, that went really well. I thought it was great. So, Doug, thank you so much for helping us out with this.
So much of your time. It's almost 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah,
Good luck to you.
definitely. Thank you, and we'll be sure to send you a final cut when it's ready.
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thanks,
Okay, I
Doug. Have
enjoyed
a
it.
great night.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.